That's what I realize. I am healed, whole, and healthy. I relax, visualize. Everything is possible. That's what I realize. Healed, whole, well, talking healed, whole, well. This is my favorite. We are healed, whole, and healthy. I accept and I release, receive. Healed, whole, and healthy. I accept and I receive. We are all healed, whole, and healthy. We accept and we receive. Healed, whole, and healthy. We accept and we receive. Healed, whole, and healthy. We have angels watching over you and me. Healed, whole, and healthy. Angels watching over you and me. Healed, whole. We are well. Everything and anything is possible. Can't you feel it? I know you can tell. We are healed, whole, and healthy. Love surrounds us everywhere. Healed, whole, and healthy. Love surrounds us everywhere. We are healed, whole, and healthy. We relax and visualize. Healed, whole, and healthy. It's in our soul. Possibility is in our lives. Healed and well.
Please join me in prayer. There's only one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. And that life belongs to each and everyone within the sound of my voice. Those light beings here in this space, those listening online, and everyone on planet Earth. And what we know is that we can look for possibilities instead of problems. We know that we're in an infinite universe that has an infinite amount of good available to each and every one of us. The universe is totally limitless. It's our playground. And we are so grateful for the opportunity to step into it. I know that everything that takes place here today will be absolutely perfect in every way, and give thanks for all those beautiful light beings who come together to make this service possible. I release these words into that divine law that knows how to mold, make, shape, and create all the good there is, all the time, everywhere, right here and right now. I let this go, I let it be. Together we affirm, and so it is. And so I've been enjoying this wonderful book by Sean Jenwright, and I pulled some nuggets out of that book. There's just so much in there if you haven't. I think we have a copy of it in the library, if I'm not mistaken. So that's available if any of you want to read it. The first quote from him is, "The pivot in perspective means that we actively work, even when it's hard as hell, to recognize that there's always a bird's eye view of things that allows us to see the whole picture." The struggles that people face are real, yet our histories do not determine who we are nor limit our agency. We can create the future we wish to see rather than simply eliminating the present conditions we need to change. Possibility thinking and innovation are rooted in ancestral knowledge and indigenous wisdom. They aren't created in the technology companies of Silicon Valley. And finally, our job is to lean into the practice of possibilities and strive for the future we want to create. Of course, we can't leave our founder, the Honorable Dr. Ernest Holmes, out. And here's what he says regarding possibilities. The highest realization that we can have is a recognition of the omnipresence of spirit. This will set in motion greater possibilities and will automatically provide a larger concept of life. We should daily train our thoughts to recognize the spirit in everything we see, do, or think.
Well, good afternoon, New Dawn.
Good afternoon.
It's a new day at New Dawn. Oh my goodness. How good it is to be here on this fall equinox. I did this little write-up and spent a little bit of time with it and took it into prayer and promptly left it on my desk. So, what you know and what I know is the equinox is that time in the northern hemisphere where there are equal parts light and dark. It's from the Latin, meaning equal dark, actually. And from here on out, the days will get a little shorter, heading up to the winter solstice, which would be the longest night of the year, the shortest day of the year. So as metaphysicians, what we know about the equinox is that it invites us into that opportunity to just look at the balance in our lives. Maybe it's the balance of light and dark. Maybe it's the balance, as we're going to talk about today, of work and rest, right? It's just that opportunity for us to check in with that higher power of our understanding and continue to create the life of our magnificence. And that's one of the reasons Rick and I chose today to offer the workshop on, on pathways to purpose, exploring the labyrinth in Ikigai. We're going to use the labyrinth to do that internal exploration, to check in with ourselves and see what's percolating and what's cooking within us. And then we're going to use the concepts of Ikigai, and Rick is going to walk us through a brilliant watercolor exercise for the external piece, as was suggested, where we will literally be painting our own labyrinths, creating our own meditative tools for your altar, for your sacred space, for your refrigerator, for your recycling bin, whatever works for you. You get to be the boss of you. And never a dull moment here at New Dawn. We also wanted you all to be the first to be aware, as Mickey suggested, that I'm offering Living the Art Living the Art of Life workshop. So what that looks like is going to be journaling, creating affirmations, sharing amongst ourselves, and a powerful ritual to release that which is no longer serving us. We're not making anyone or anything wrong or bad. We're simply like a pair of shoes as a kid that we outgrew. Or in my case, with 3 boys, pairs of jeans didn't last very long. You just kind of keep growing. And that is also the case for us metaphysically. We continue to grow, and maybe we have some stuff that we're ready to release. So that's going to be on Sunday, October 12th after the service. Have a sign-up sheet and some flyers here for you with that as well. So as we step into the third pivot from Dr. Sean, I too have really enjoyed this book, Russ. I was not familiar with him or his work. And today we're looking at the pivot from hustle to healing. I just kind of like the sound of that. So as I share every week with lessons from the ballroom as a setup for my work, even dancers need to rest between songs. Hustling nonstop, whether literally doing the hustle or any other dance, just makes you sweaty and cranky. But when you breathe and pause and smile, you reconnect with the joy of the music. I once saw a dancer so intent on moving fast that by the time the first chorus ended, they were winded, red-faced, and frustrated. The teacher stopped the music and said, "Sometimes the most important step is the pause." We were at Rick's first art show yesterday. He had 2 paintings on display along with 150 other artists and his closest friends. And we were visiting with some new friends that Rick has known for a while. They were brand new friends to me. And the fellow in the couple said, "Yeah, we've been together 8 years, and his significant other is the artist." And he said, "She gave me a choice. She said she wanted us to find something that we can do together. And those 2 choices were either join her in watercolor painting or do ballroom dancing." And he got this really weird look on his face. And of course, I lit up. I'm like, I choose ballroom, he chooses watercolor, it's all good. So that is what we're up to today. So Sean reminds us in the book, rest is not a luxury, it is resistance. Healing is not optional, it is the pathway to wholeness. I love that. Rest is resistance. Holmes tells us we are not made to struggle, but to live in ease and peace. When we're in the hustle mindset, the hustle tells us do more, prove more, be productive, right? And when we're in the healing mode, when we pivot to healing, we hear, "You are already enough." And that is what we know in all of that magnificence. Again, Holmes reminds us, the Spirit never works against itself, nor can we work against it. We must learn to live in accord with it. The hustle culture often tricks us into believing that worth is measured by productivity and relentless striving. We gotta go, we gotta compete, we need more, we need less, we have to gain weight, we have to lose weight, we have to go to church more, we have to be in service more, right? But true healing, Holmes would say, begins when we release the false belief that our value comes from doing rather than being. You've heard it before. We are human beings, we are not human doings. Healing over hustle is a return to spiritual alignment. So for me, what that looked like, I was hugely and humbly honored when I was asked to join the Leadership Council for the Association for Global New Thought by Michael Beckwith and Roger Teal, the 2 chairs of the organization at the time. And I was having all kinds of imposter syndrome and what am I doing and how am I doing it? And well, the long and the short of it is the first gathering of the group that I attended was hosted by Michael at Agape. And the first time I gave a talk as a member of the Leadership Council of the Association for Global New Thought was at Agape Church with the Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith literally standing over my shoulder. And so that was my opportunity to heal. That was my opportunity to say, okay, maybe other people see things in me that I'm not seeing in myself. And so that was a beautiful moment for me. And I love what Ayanla Van Zant tells us. The antidote to hustle is trust. Trust that everything you need is already within you. And that's what we get invited into. So as we begin to release the need to prove ourselves through endless hustle, a natural next step emerges, and that's the practice of rest. What? We're having a conversation about rest? I have to tell you, I went down several rabbit holes this week in preparing this talk about rest and interesting books and interesting ministries. And so sit back, rest. We might be here a little bit longer today. If healing over hustle is the antidote for striving, then rest is the doorway to true freedom. So let's look at how rest itself can be an act of resistance against the forces that tell us we're only as good as our productivity. Holmes said, "The infinite gives itself without effort, for it is its very nature to give." Rest, then, is not laziness or avoidance. It is alignment with the effortless giving of spirit. In a world that glorifies exhaustion, rest becomes a radical act of resistance. By resting, we declare that we are not machines, but divine beings, whose very breath is sacred. Rest opens space for renewal, creativity, and deep listening to that still small voice within. Modern voices echo this wisdom. This is extraordinary, my friends. Check this out if you're not familiar with it, as I was not. Tricia Hershey, founder of the NAP Ministry, and author of the New York Times bestsellers, Rest is Resistance and We Will Rest, The Art of Escape. She proclaims, rest is resistance because it pushes back against grind culture and capitalism. Oh my gosh, I get to fight back by having a nap. I love it. Many of you know Reverend Dr. David Alt, a dear friend of ours. When I was with Science of Mind magazine, I was honored to place he and his then spouse on the cover. David writes, "The more we align with divine rest, the more potent our action becomes. Rest is not passive, it is regenerative. It is a refusal to be consumed by the narrative of scarcity and overwork. In New Thought, rest is an affirmation. I am enough. I have enough. I do enough." By resting, we embody the eternal rhythm of creation itself. Work and Sabbath, expression and contradiction, action and stillness. So in two of my worlds that I have shared with you, sabbaticals are integral to the operation of those paradigms, if you will. In ministry, it's often in ministers' letters of call, whether in a position for 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, after a certain amount of time, they get a paid sabbatical. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 6 weeks, maybe it's 3 months, whatever that looks like. It's a time for renewal. It's a time to step away and to regenerate. And you all know, you all have been in service in this community 4 years. And a dear friend of mine who was actually responsible for connecting me with the work that I so love at Metro State University. Her name is AJ, and AJ had been with Metro for 30 years and had the opportunity over that time for other sabbaticals that she was, in her words, she was too busy to take advantage of. So she approached the 30-year mark, and I'm like, And she is very much identifies with the New Thought tradition. I said, so what does this look like? What does this feel like? And she led with, oh, I'm so busy. And I'm like, And she ended up taking 2 months this past summer, and her whole life changed for any number of reasons. Her father is of Filipino descent and was living in Hong Kong, and she took the time to move her beloved father from Hong Kong back to the Philippines. And also during her sabbatical after that move, he made his transition in his home country. So she took care of that. She did some work here, and one of her beloved children started studying in Japan. And of course, it is the parents' duty to make sure that the children are settled in college. So all of that to say, during her time of rest and rejuvenation, Spirit said, and, right, we plan and God smiles. So it's not just about taking a nap. It's doing what feeds your soul. Maybe you want to be in the garden. One of the trees in our home has, like overnight, the leaves have started falling. And I love that. I find it just beautiful. So do what brings you joy. So rest isn't just about pausing, it's about remembering. When we honor our need to rest, we're reminded that we are already whole. The world may try to fracture us into roles, tasks, and demands, but rest calls us back to the deeper truth. We are indivisible expressions of Spirit, which brings us to the final pivot, an awareness that wholeness isn't something to achieve, but something to live from. Our wholeness is already here, my friends. It is up to us to continue to explore it and see that it is revealed. And speaking of our wholeness, Rick reminded me that today would have been my best friend's 80th birthday. She made her transition 5 years ago, just before our last big birthday at 60. And Kathleen and I were in ministerial school together. And for those of you who may know Kathleen Lenover, she is just love of my life and continues to live in my heart. And a little bit of Kathleen's backstory. She kind of lived part of the Sound of Music story. As soon as she graduated from high school, the next week she walked into the convent and she said, David, that's one thing the movie got right. I walked in and, gave them my clothes and put on whatever novices wear. And she said, if somebody was leaving, they got what I dropped off. And so she was a nun in the Sisters of Charity for 10 years. She taught in inner city schools. She loved so much about being a Catholic sister. The one thing that really didn't resonate with her was the vow of poverty for whatever reason. And I can tell you, we had some incredible laughs over that. So when Kathleen did her spiritual work and decided her work as a nun was complete, she left. She left the sisterhood, did a couple of other jobs. We have some great stories that we will share with you sometime. And she became a financial planner, working with people only with 6- and 7-figure portfolios. And so she was a powerhouse, and she was a heavy hitter. And as I said, we were in ministerial school together. We served on the board at Mile High together. And so when Kathleen was graduating from ministerial school, what do you get a woman who has everything? And so I went to Michael's or one of the craft stores, and I got 3 of those big letters, right? And so I wrapped him up and I put him in a bag, and we're doing whatever we're doing, and I gave her gift. And she's pulling out her letters. And the first one she pulls out is a capital E. And she's like, oh, okay. And then the next one she pulls out is the capital letter R. And she's looking at ER. And then the next one she pulls out is a V. And she sets them together, and she looks at it, and she says, Irv. I love it. So, of course, she became Irv in my life. And I said, and Kathleen, or you could reverse the E and the R, and it could be R-E-V for Reverend. Oh, I like Irv so much better. So you see, my friends, we are whole, perfect, and complete, however we choose to identify. And good for you for letting us know how you want to be identified. So wholeness is not something we achieve. It is who we already are. Ernest says, man's life is God's life. Man's mind is God's mind. Man's spirit is God's spirit. Wholeness is our essence, untouched by circumstance, trauma, or limitation. The spiritual journey is not about becoming whole, but about awakening to the wholeness that is already present. When we live in that awareness, healing flows naturally, relationships deepen, and our sense of separation dissolves. As I've shared with you before, my dear friend and mentor, Reverend Dr. Roger Teal, often says, wholeness is the truth of you, and nothing can diminish it. Reverend Deborah Johnson, who also served on the board of AGNT with me, there is nothing broken about you. There is only wholeness you have yet to see. So claiming wholeness is a radical act in a culture that profits from telling us we are incomplete. New Thought calls us to affirm, I am whole, I am perfect, I am complete now. And as we stand in that knowing, our very lives become testimonies to Spirit's infinite completeness expressing through us. And as I touched on a bit earlier, in the two worlds that I'm in at the moment, in higher education, sabbaticals are structured as opportunities for faculty to step out of their day-to-day teaching and service responsibilities in order to renew themselves as scholars, researchers, and educators. At the macro level, the rationale is simple. A rested, refreshed, and retooled faculty enriches the entire institution. Parker Palmer in The Courage to Teach offers, good teaching cannot be reduced to technique. Good teaching comes from the identity and the integrity of the teacher. And through the ministry lens, sabbaticals serve a parallel purpose. They're not vacations, but intentional seasons of renewal for spiritual leaders. Ministers are often on the front lines of holding grief, guiding communities, and carrying congregational responsibilities. Over time, it can lead to compassion fatigue, creative depletion, or even physical and spiritual burnout. So generally then, sabbaticals acknowledge the human limits of clergy and affirm that rest and renewal are integral to a sustainable ministry. I know many of you know and have read Wayne Muller. I love his book, Sabbath, Finding Rest, Renewal, and Delight in Our Busy Lives. He writes, Sabbath is not dependent upon our readiness to stop. We do not stop when we are finished. We stop because it is time to stop. A little something there for me, perhaps there for you as well. So at 30,000 feet, sabbaticals are about embodying what we've been talking about. Healing over hustle, rest is resistance, and wholeness is our nature. Both academia and ministry recognize that the best long-term outcomes come when leaders are given space to pause, calibrate, and return with renewed clarity. Sabbaticals institutionalize the principle that rest is not an indulgence, but an essential infrastructure for growth, creativity, and resilience. So those are just two of the worlds that I'm familiar with. They say, in effect, our work matters so much that we dare not be depleted. So both are grounded in the truth that Ernest Holmes voiced. We are not living in a chaos. We are living in a cosmos. Rest is part of the divine order. So if you would, my friends, indulge me on this day. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to invite you into a very brief 3-minute meditation with me. So we will move through those 3 steps that we just talked about of healing, rest, and wholeness. So I invite you now to close your eyes, place your feet gently on the ground, and let your hands rest softly on your lap. Take a deep breath, conscious breath in, and release it slowly. Feel yourself arriving fully in this sacred moment. As you breathe in again, imagine letting go of any need to strive or prove. See the hustle energy dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Affirm silently, I am enough just as I am. My worth is not measured by what I produce, but by who I am as a divine expression of spirit. With each breath, feel the healing presence washing away any sense of pressure or striving. Now, allow yourself to soften. With every exhale, sink a little deeper into stillness. Feel your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench, your mind settle. This is rest, not earned, not bargained for, but your birthright. Rest is resistance. Rest is reclamation. Whisper inwardly, rest renews me. Rest aligns me. Rest is my sacred practice. Let your body receive this truth. From this place of rest, notice the wholeness already present within you, beneath the noise, beyond the doing. There is an unshakable center of completeness. It has never been broken, never been lost. See this wholeness as a radiant light filling your entire being. Affirm silently, I am whole. I am perfect. I am complete. Nothing can diminish the wholeness that I am. Let this knowing expand outward, blessing not only you, but all who share this world with you. As we prepare to return, take one final deep breath in, drawing in healing, rest, and wholeness. And release, sending that energy into the room and into the world. When you are ready, gently open your eyes, carrying this awareness forward. And so it is. Thank you. And so, my friends, I invite you once again to take a deep breath and settle into this truth. You are not broken. You are not incomplete. You are a whole, imperfect expression of the infinite. Ernest Holmes assures us there is nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. Today, we reveal the truth that healing is greater than hustle. Rest is more powerful than resistance, and wholeness is the very nature of our being. So let us affirm together, I release the need to prove myself. I welcome rest as my birthright. I live from the wholeness that I already am. Please repeat after me. I release hustle.
I release hustle.
I honor my rest.
I honor my rest.
I claim my wholeness.
I claim my wholeness.
And as we carry this knowing into the world, may our lives shine as reminders of what Spirit can do through us when we are aligned with its flow. And so as we look at the applications for New Dawn then, my friends, we live our faith through choosing healing over endless hustle, by making rest a sacred practice, and by trusting Spirit's rhythm of grace. Please join me in prayer. Practitioners, if you'll stand and hold consciousness. Holy Presence, today we release the hustle. We let go of striving and lean into rest. May we heal, not through effort, but through allowing. May we remember our wholeness and rise renewed in spirit. I simply release, I let go, I allow it to be. And we affirm this together by saying, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are.
I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? Happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I know the light of love is shining in your eyes. I'm happy and healthy, wealthy, and wise. A little bird told me, she said, life is so sweet. And when I listen to her sing, you know I feel so complete. Because I know I've got all the keys, we all do, to love, joy, and peace. And the power is infinite. That's how love is released. I know you know this because you sing it with me all the time. Ready? 1, 2, here we go. I am happy, yeah, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Happy and healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I know the light of love is shining in your eyes. I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Want to do it one more time? I am happy, healthy, is shining in our eyes. Ooh. Last time we go. I am happy